Hello to you. I'm Fox 26 meteorologist Ramisha Shade. It's that time of the day again. Time for us to check in with the tropics. Of course, we will do this every single afternoon as long as we are officially in hurricane season. And yes, we are into the first week. Fortunately, things are looking fairly quiet right now, but if you've lived in Southeast Texas for a while, you know that can change in a snap, in a hurry. So, of course, we are tracking the tropics closely to see if we have any trouble brewing. Typically for the month of June, even into July, we don't really expect much action as far as the formation or development of tropical storms or hurricanes, but there's a low shot. But at this point, things are quiet out there. But of course, we always closely monitor August, September, October, because that is when the number of tropical systems in the Atlantic Basin really starts to increase, at least historically. Then as we get towards the end of hurricane season, things start to kind of calm back down normally. But of course, as we've been telling you, the major forecasts that we look at the closest calling for an above average season as far as number of named storms, hurricanes, and major hurricanes. Of course, we look at the Colorado State University forecast. That's an important one. And also the forecast from NOAA. And both of these are calling for a super busy season. In fact, a range of 17 to 25 named storms from NOAA being forecast. Out of those, 8 to 13 becoming hurricanes, and out of those, 4 to 7 becoming major hurricanes. So that is certainly above the norm. CSU forecasters also calling for above average number of named storms. 23 out of those, 11 becoming hurricanes, and out of those, they're expecting 5 to become major hurricanes. So this is an average season. 14 named storms, 7 hurricanes, 3 major hurricanes. That's likely not going to happen for this season. We've got very warm sea surface temps out there. Water temperatures in the Gulf of Mexico are in the 80s, middle 80s for much of the Gulf, and that's usually what you experience in August. So we've got very warm water temperatures, and we're likely going to switch back to a La Nina phase from an El Nino. So that means these storms are likely going to be able to survive out there in the Atlantic Basin a little longer. But the good news, no storms now, but once we start to see these systems developing, if they get a name, this will be the official list. We'll start off with Alberto. That will be the first named storm. Then we go to Beryl, Chris, Debbie, all the way down to Tony, Valerie, and William. Of course, if we get a higher number of named storms than what we have names for, we would go to a secondary list from the World Meteorological Organization. So we definitely have a plan. We're just hoping that things don't get super active, but all forecasts are indicating that it could be a very busy season. So let's just enjoy the calm, the quiet while we have it. Look at the Atlantic Basin and you'll see that things are fairly quiet. No tropical cyclones expected to develop over the next 7 days. However, we do have some scattered showers and storms impacting parts of the Caribbean islands over towards Cuba, Jamaica, Haiti, and getting close to Puerto Rico, but nothing that is expected to develop into an area of low pressure that could turn into a tropical depression, tropical storm, or hurricane. So for that reason, the National Hurricane Center calling for no tropical activity likely for the next 7 days. So that is a forecast that I like. I'll take it. Hopefully we can keep this trend going for the next several weeks and for the next several months. But of course, we've got all the way through the end of November to get through for this hurricane season before we can say that things are calm and we survived. So we've got to continue to monitor things closely. Our Futurecast model still showing some scattered heavy downpours, a few thunderstorms impacting some of the islands in the Caribbean, parts of Central America getting some heavier rain, but none of this expected to break apart and turn into a closed circulation and potentially a major tropical system at this point, at least not for the next week. There are still some models indicating towards the middle and end of June, we could potentially start to get some development, but for now, we don't see that happening over the next week. So while things are quiet, of course, this is the best time to prepare for what could potentially happen. We could get several storms and not get hit by any, but of course, we all know that it only takes one of these tropical systems to cause potential devastation. Just look at the history of the Houston area. We've had several of these systems. We've had humongous amounts of devastating flooding. We've had a lot of wind damage. So certainly things can go wrong in a hurry. It just takes one system. So Even though things are quiet now, you always want to make sure that you're prepared. So I just put together a little hurricane checklist for you here. If you were to get hit by what could be an approaching hurricane, tropical storm, tropical depression, would you be ready? Do you have that hurricane preparedness kit, that hurricane checklist ready to go? Well, I just wanted to go over some things that you would need at your house just in case you were going to shelter in place and you were not going to evacuate. Here are some of the things that you would definitely need to have in that hurricane kit. Make sure to have those batteries. Great idea to fill a bathtub up with water. Documents, very important. You may want to wrap them in a plastic bag just in case you get a lot of flooding. You'll still have those important insurance documents and other documents that you need, and hopefully they will survive the storm because you likely will need to use those after the storm. Extra cash, always a good thing to have. Gloves, first aid kit, flashlight. Definitely have those in your hurricane kit. Plenty of non-perishable food. That's always a good idea. You got to eat to survive, so make sure you have that. Pet supplies are a good idea if you have pets. Plywood, great idea to have that. Storm shutters, and also you definitely want to have plenty of water. And if you have a weather radio, that's also a great thing to have. Certainly make sure it's a battery operated weather radio that you can keep listening to and get that weather information throughout the storm. Now, some of you may live in an evacuation zone, so you'll need to pack the car up and get out of there quickly. Just remember to follow the instructions, follow the evacuation routes for your area and the evacuation times. We don't want things to unfold similar to what happened with Hurricane Rita all the way back in 2005, where it was just a giant parking lot over Texas because everyone evacuated at once. But you certainly want to follow those rules, stay calm, but try to have these things in your car with you before you leave to make sure that you are safe if you do have to evacuate. Once again, batteries, documents, extra cash, extra keys, food, first aid kit, a gas can. That is super important, just in case the gas is running low at the gas stations. I remember that happened with Hurricane Rita back in 2005 as well. You definitely want to have any important medication with you that you would need to take, pet supplies, and also plenty of water. You certainly want to make sure you have that in that car with you. So nothing going on in the tropics now, but it's always a good idea to review what you need to do to prepare because you just never know. We are officially into hurricane season and those storms can pop up at any time. But at least for now, things should stay quiet for the next week.